You didn't tell the Department of Justice about those tweets?
Senator, I tweet and respond to tweets or repost tweets regularly and frequently.
But you know the stuff is going to be looked at. It gets looked at all the time in hearings. Our expert is Senator Kennedy, but other senators ask questions about people's tweets as well.
A routine confirmation hearing quickly turned into a debate over his own tweets.
You have tweets that call Donald Trump and Kamala Harris two clowns. You have tweets that call Senator Murkowski almost as dumb as Kamala. You have tweets that call Senator Collins a fraud. You have tweets that call Senator Padilla, who sits on this committee, a thug. You have tweets that call Senator Schiff a fraud. He also sits on this committee. And you undertook no preparation to face questions about that as you come before the Senate Judiciary Committee?
No, Senator.
You didn't tell the Department of Justice about those tweets?
Senator, I tweet and respond to tweets or repost tweets regularly and frequently.
But you know the stuff is going to be looked at. It gets looked at all the time in hearings. Our expert is Senator Kennedy, but other senators ask questions about people's tweets as well. You're telling me here that you never disclosed to the Department of Justice these tweets about senators who would have to vote on your nomination, and you're telling me that DOJ, as far as you know, didn't even know about them.
I'm telling you that the DOJ never raised these with me.
And you never disclosed them to the DOJ?
No.
Well, let's start with Senators Padilla and Schiff. Do you know what state they represent?
California.
Yeah. And California will very likely be submitting applications for various grant programs to the Office of Justice Programs. Correct?
I would expect.
Yeah. And having called Senator Padilla a thug at least 5 times and Senator Schiff a fraud, what reasonably could they expect about you giving California programs a fair hearing if you're put in charge of OJP?
Every state and every jurisdiction would expect that they would go through the process of applying for grants with the Office of Justice Programs, and those grant applications would be administered and reviewed through the process of the department.
Yeah, that's what they would expect. And then there'd be a guy at the head of the program who thinks that the senators involved are a thug and a fraud. How do you convince us that you're not going to let that personal bias against these two individuals affect your judgment about California programs, particularly programs that, we often write in letters saying, we work with this program, we think they do a good job, please give it every due consideration consistent with your responsibilities. That's a pretty standard thing. How do you respond to a letter from somebody you've called a thug or somebody you've called a fraud when they support a program that you're asked to decide on?
Because I believe that the Office of Justice Programs has a mission to support the entire country, every state and every city, and protect our communities, irrespective of the elected leadership that exists there today or tomorrow.
So just trust me, I guess, is what you're saying.
Well, trust the fact that I have been in the private sector and I was a practicing lawyer for a long time, and I will administer these funds as a good steward for the taxpayers of this country and ensure that they reach the ultimate recipients and the beneficiaries, which are our communities, our law enforcement, victims of crime, our juvenile system.
So why should Judge Boasberg, the chief judge of the D.C. Circuit, be impeached?
I don't have an opinion on Judge Boasberg.
You had one when you twice said that he should be impeached on tweets.
So, Senator, I suspect that you're quoting retweets or comments to other tweets. It would be
Look,
nice to have.
No, they're your tweets. You're the one who's responsible for them. You're responsible for knowing what you said. Don't put it on us to have to explain to you your own tweets. This is your mess, not ours. You're the one who tweeted impeach him. If you can't explain that, that's on you. But my general question is, why should Judge Boasberg be impeached? Whether you tweeted it or retweeted it, you obviously thought he should be impeached. Why?
It would be helpful for me to see the context of the tweet.
You're the one who's supposed to be ready for these hearings.
Thank you.
A Senate Judiciary Committee hearing took an unexpected turn when Senator Sheldon Whitehouse questioned a Justice Department nominee about his own social media history. Rather than focusing immediately on policy, Whitehouse began by asking whether the nominee had been properly prepared for the hearing and whether Department of Justice officials had discussed the possibility that senators might examine his public posts on social media. The nominee responded that while he had prepared for the hearing and met with DOJ officials, the topic of his tweets had never been raised. That answer opened the door for Whitehouse to read several posts in which the nominee had criticized prominent political figures, including former President Donald Trump, former Vice President Kamala Harris, and several members of the Senate Judiciary Committee itself. Whitehouse questioned why those posts had never been disclosed during the preparation process and argued that public statements attacking elected officials could raise legitimate concerns about impartiality, particularly for someone seeking a senior leadership role within the Department of Justice. The discussion then shifted to the nominee's potential responsibilities overseeing the Office of Justice programs. Whitehouse asked how states represented by senators he had publicly criticized could be confident they would receive fair and unbiased consideration when applying for federal grants. The nominee repeatedly stated that he would faithfully administer federal programs according to the law and emphasized that every state and community would be treated equally regardless of politics. Later in the hearing, Whitehouse introduced additional social media posts in which the nominee appeared to support impeaching a federal judge. When asked to explain those statements, the nominee said he would need to see the full context before responding, prompting another sharp exchange between the senator and the witness. The hearing illustrates how social media has become an increasingly important part of the Senate confirmation process, with nominees often facing questions not only about their qualifications and legal views, but also about their past online statements and whether those comments could affect public confidence in their impartiality. If you enjoy in-depth coverage of Senate confirmation hearings, congressional oversight, and the biggest moment from Capitol Hill, subscribe to Capitol and Country News and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest updates.